Napoleon Hill once said, "We cannot change our destiny by wishing for it. We can only change it through purposeful action." And among all the actions he ever taught, there is one that may seem small, yet holds an unimaginable power of transformation, devoting 1 hour each day to investing in yourself. Not everyone believes in this. Most of the world is still waiting for a big break, a miracle, or a stroke of luck to turn their lives around. They think they have to work until they forget to eat or sleep, stay endlessly busy to reach the top. But Hill didn't believe in coincidence. He believed in a solid formula. Time ownership plus self-discipline leads to a changed destiny. And it all begins with 1 hour a day, an hour you don't give to the world, to society, to your phone or the news, but reserve solely for yourself. Success is not the result of a single breakthrough. It is the outcome of the silent hours you choose to walk forward while others choose to stand still. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever felt too busy to learn something new? Too tired to plan for the future? Too late to start over? Hill wouldn't judge you, but he would look you straight in the eye and ask, do you have 1 hour? Not 1 hour for work, not 1 hour to keep running after obligations, but 1 hour is truly for you. 1 hour to pause, not from exhaustion, but from awareness. 1 hour to reflect, not with regret, but with a spirit of awakening. 1 hour to ask yourself the questions no one else dares to ask. Am I living by my own will or merely reacting to life? Am I growing or simply repeating who I was yesterday? Am I getting closer to the life I desire or drifting farther away? Hill believed that if each person spent just 1 hour a day facing those questions, then acting to improve, within a year their life would be unrecognizable. 1 hour, 60 minutes sounds small, but don't underestimate it. 1 hour each day adds up to 365 hours a year. That's more than 9 full-time work weeks. If you focus entirely. Ask yourself, if you had 9 weeks solely to learn, to think, to hone your skills, to restructure your entire life, how much would you change? Napoleon Hill never said, work 20 hours a day. Instead, he taught you to begin with the smallest discipline that few ever master, to make use of 1 hour a day to build yourself. 1 hour to read a chapter. 1 hour to write down your goals. 1 hour to learn a new skill. 1 hour to visualize and strategize. 1 hour to train your mind, your body, and your inner strength. You don't need to change your whole life in a day. You only need to decide how you will use 1 hour. You say you don't have time? Napoleon Hill once broke down one of the biggest lies people tell themselves every day: I'm too busy. But the truth is, everyone has 24 hours. Not everyone values one. If you don't take control of your own schedule, someone else will, and they won't use that time to serve your dreams. This is not a call to sacrifice sleep or abandon everything to chase success. This is a call to reclaim your time, starting with the smallest piece, 1 hour that you will no longer waste. Each day you stand at a crossroads, to continue living as always, busy but unclear where you're headed, or to pause for 1 hour, realign yourself, then move forward like a creator. You don't need to do something grand. You just need to begin with 1 hour. 1 hour to think, 1 hour to prepare, 1 hour to grow. Today you choose that or you refuse it. But time moves on. And one day you will have to answer the inescapable question, how did you use your time? Napoleon Hill will not pressure you, but if you are truly ready to change, he will show you a path that is simple, clear, and powerful. Start with 1 hour. Are you ready to step into that first hour? Napoleon Hill didn't just speak about time, he spoke about the quality of beginnings, because he understood a truth that very few are willing to admit. The way you begin your day quietly shapes the way you live your entire life. There is no randomness in success, only those who know how to command the very first minutes of the morning, while the rest of the world is still drowsy. This is not merely a habit, it is a ritual, and that ritual, if practiced correctly, will transform you from a reactive person into a creator, from someone being swept away by life into someone who steers their own destiny. Hill once said, if you don't intentionally program your mind in the early hours of the day, the world will do it for you. And do you know what the world will program into you? Bad news, chaos, comparison, a sense of lack, worry, noise, the negativity that flows from your phone screen. The very thing most people turn to the moment they wake up. They open their eyes and immediately step into someone else's life. They let emails, messages, social media, and news determine their mood, energy, and mindset before they've even asked a simple question. Who do I actually want to be today? Napoleon Hill wouldn't let that happen. He taught that the first hour of the day is sacred ground. It is not meant for reaction. It is meant for orientation. And if you claim that first hour, you will claim the rest of the day. Every morning, while most are dragging their tired bodies out of bed, you will step into a space that Hill called the launch pad of life purpose. This is when you intentionally plant the right seeds into your subconscious before the world has a chance to sow confusion. You don't have to start with anything grand. Wake up 30 minutes earlier, not for a trend, but for awareness. Drink a full glass of water to tell your body that you are living consciously. Open a book instead of opening social media. Write down 3 things you're grateful for to nourish your inner strength, rather than beginning with a sense of lack. Close your eyes for a minute to visualize the person you want to become. Not someone out there, but you, a wiser, stronger, more directed version of yourself than yesterday. It may sound simple, but Hill knew this. The simple things that few people do are exactly what creates lasting transformation. Because if you win the first hour, you win your mind. And if you control your mind, the rest of the day becomes your playground, not a battlefield of stress, chaos, or procrastination. Hill never romanticized success. He didn't sell the glossy image of people leaping out of bed inspired and victorious. He said plainly, successful people don't rise because they wake up with fireworks in their heads. They rise because they wake up on time and follow through as promised, even when they don't feel like it. Discipline doesn't ask whether you feel inspired. It only asks whether you are committed. So, starting tomorrow, sign a new agreement with yourself. Before you touch the world, touch your future. Don't consume information, create your state. Don't wait for inspiration, generate it through action. Don't just wake up, rise. Because your future doesn't wait until 11 a.m. to appear. It is quietly waiting at 6 a.m., ready for you to arrive. Arrive with awareness, with seriousness, with commitment. And when the world finally wakes up in noise, you will already be one step ahead, not just in time, but in energy, in clarity, and in purpose. Hill would remind you of this. You can't control everything that happens in a day, but you can control how you begin it. And the way you begin your day today in stillness, clarity, and intention will be the very way you begin to redefine your entire life. For Napoleon Hill, reclaiming the first hour of your day was only the beginning. What mattered even more was learning how to protect it as a spiritual treasure. Because in the modern world, time is no longer stolen through violence, but through seemingly harmless requests. Small notifications, unexpected calls, polite favors. Each one strong enough to yank you out of your focused orbit. One morning hour, if not guarded, will silently disappear. Not because you lack willpower, but because you lack the alertness to realize you're trading gold for breadcrumbs. Napoleon Hill once said, nothing great is ever built from the leftovers of time. Every achievement begins the moment you draw an unbreachable boundary around your personal growth. And he emphasized that this golden hour reserved for thinking, developing, creating, and orienting must never be treated as temporary. It must not be given to anyone but yourself. It is not the remainder after work is done. It is the first non-negotiable part of your commitment to intentional living. We often protect money, possessions, reputation, but we neglect time, which once lost can never be regained. Hill once likened time to money, but even more dangerous, because you can earn back a lost dollar, but an hour that has passed is gone forever. So why do we let it be invaded so easily? Why can a call, a message, a request so easily topple the resolve you prepared for all night? The answer lies in this. You haven't yet treated your personal development time as sacred. You haven't marked it in your mind as a private domain, as sacred ground no one is allowed to trespass. Hill would show you this. Place a fence around your golden hour. Post a mental sign that reads, no distractions, no calls, no compromises. Not out of rudeness, but out of seriousness, not because you want to escape the world, but because you're training to lead it. You can start with something simple. Each night before bed, schedule the hour for the following morning. Write it down, name it, give it a clear identity. Creation hour, reading hour, thinking hour, self-building hour. Don't let it remain vague like free time, because if it has no name, it will be easily replaced by anything that feels more urgent. And clearly tell your loved ones, this hour is mine. I'm not neglecting you. I'm training myself to love you better. No need for anger, just consistency. Because Hill understood one thing: when you begin to respect your time, others will begin to respect you. When you stand firm in your boundaries, the world will adjust itself. And at that point, you no longer need to fight to protect your golden hour. You simply show up, and everything else will fall into place according to the order you've established. So what happens if you succeed in protecting that golden hour each day? Hill said. You won't just have one productive hour. You will begin constructing a new version of yourself, because one deeply focused hour, undistracted, will return to you clarity, confidence, and mental resilience, things that even 10 hours of busy work cannot provide. 1 hour done right will take you further than a week spent reacting to news, emails, and external demands. Do not trade gold for dust. Don't say, just 5 minutes to check, because that 5 minutes will pull you far from your point of focus and you may not find your way back. Don't reply, I'll just answer quickly, because every time you do that, you train your brain to believe that others have the right to decide what you do. Remind yourself each morning, this hour is not for reacting. This hour is for building. And if you still struggle to defend your time, Hill would remind you of one final truth. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. You might feel a moment of discomfort in turning down a request, but the price of not acting is that a year from now, you'll still be in the same place. The life you long for will remain a dream. The person you aspire to become will still be a blurry silhouette in the distance. So starting tomorrow, or better yet, starting tonight, schedule your golden hour. Name it, circle it in your mind, treat it as sacred, like a ritual. Because in truth, it is the ritual that awakens the strongest version of who you are inside. And when you uphold that ritual, day after day, you will step into a realm reserved only for those who truly create their own lives. In Hill's philosophy, every action must be anchored to a clear purpose. The hour you devote each morning is not simply time spent working on yourself. It must be an hour intentionally designed. Before you open a book, before you start training, before you write a plan. Pause for a few minutes. You don't need much, just 3 minutes of silence, enough to ask yourself 4 powerful questions. What is my goal? What skill do I need to build? What am I improving today? And why does this matter so deeply to me? Don't keep the answers in your head, write them down. Hill once said, clarity on paper leads to clarity in action. An idea that merely passes through your mind will vanish like smoke, but when it's written on paper, it begins to have form, structure, and definition, and that is the moment when you stop acting vaguely. You begin acting with a real target. Imagine walking into a forest. Without a map or a compass, you'll wander endlessly, circling, eventually panicking. The faster you move, the more lost you become. But if you pause for just 5 minutes to orient yourself, the entire journey changes. Napoleon Hill saw direction before action as an inner compass. It not only helps you step right, but it helps you remain strong when challenges arise. Because when you know why you're doing something, you can endure anyhow. Many people don't fail because they lack knowledge. They fail because they've lost direction. They've heard too many opinions, tried too many methods, chased too many goals, to the point they can no longer tell what truly matters. Hill once said, "A person who doesn't know what they want will always be a victim of someone who does." If you don't define your own life purpose, the world will assign you a default role, and you'll be controlled without ever realizing it. That's why Hill never advised act as much as possible, selectively and deliberately. On the contrary, he urged you to act selectively, deliberately, and deeply. 1 hour doesn't need to be packed with everything. It just needs to serve one clear objective, one solid step, one skill being sharpened. Because moving slowly in the right direction is far better than rushing quickly down the wrong path. And here lies the core point. Each morning, before you start working, start by deciding. Decide who you are today. Decide what takes priority. Decide what will bring you closer to the person you want to become. And from that decision, every small action within that hour will carry a very different spiritual weight. You are no longer acting out of obligation. You are acting from vision. You are no longer learning just to know. You are learning to transform. You are no longer writing out of pressure, but because with each sentence you are rewriting your life. Napoleon Hill believed that every person possesses an inner genius, but that genius only awakens when you live with purpose, with vision, with clearly defined values. And you don't need to wait a year, a month, or even a week to begin. Just tomorrow, when your first hour starts, don't leap into doing, step into thinking, define your direction, reset your inner compass, and then take action from that place of clarity. That is how you turn 1 hour into a life mission. And when you live with mission, every step you take will carry the weight of meaning. You will no longer drift through life. You will no longer work from fear or pressure. But because you are walking a path you chose, for reasons you defined, toward a future you are creating, hour by hour, day by day, without deviation. Napoleon Hill once said, "Knowledge is potential power, but it only becomes real power when applied intelligently and with purpose." To him, learning was never about stockpiling information. It was a journey of unlocking inner strength, a process of expanding the mind, to see the world more clearly, to understand oneself more deeply, and to envision the future more sharply. Each hour of learning, if done with intention, not only elevates your understanding, but quietly increases your personal value in the eyes of the world, and more importantly, in your own eye. You may land a job with a degree, but to rise to a new level of life, you must educate yourself every day. No one can do that for you. No school can substitute it. And Hill believed that if any hour deserves to be protected, it is the hour you spend learning, not for exams, not for compliance, but for growth. An hour where you sit down and say to yourself, "I will not leave this spot until my mind is clearer, my heart is wider, and my vision is stronger." You don't need to go back to school. You don't need expensive courses or certificates. You only need the right book, a quality lecture, a valuable podcast, a page of notes ready, and above all, an attitude that learns as if tomorrow you'll be leading the world. Because Hill believed you cannot lead others if you haven't learned how to lead yourself. And all self-leadership begins with knowledge, filtered, digested, and internalized. In the early years of his career as a young journalist, Hill had the privilege of interviewing and observing some of the greatest minds of the world, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, and he discovered a remarkable common trait. They never stopped learning. They dedicated a certain part of each day to reading, taking notes, asking questions, and enriching their intellect. Not to become know-it-alls, but to make better decisions, spot opportunities faster, and understand problems more deeply. And this was the lesson Hill wanted to pass on. You don't need to be the smartest person, but you must be someone who commits to learning every day. 1 hour of study per day may seem small, but over a year, it adds up to over 300 hours. That's more than 9 full-time work weeks invested entirely in you. No one can take those hours from you. No one can strip away the lessons you've quietly absorbed. The pages you turn today, the notes you jot down, the ideas you digest will become a reservoir of knowledge that empowers you when it's time to decide. You'll already have a treasury of thought within you. And Hill gave a warning: don't learn passively. Don't skim inspirational quotes and hope your life will change. Don't sit in a class, take notes just to forget them. Learn with a clear purpose. Ask yourself, what change do I want this knowledge to bring? Attach each lesson to an action, a small improvement, something you can apply within the next 24 hours. Because Hill believed learning without application is entertainment, but purposeful learning becomes a tool that shapes destiny. Be careful with what you allow your mind to consume. Read the biographies of extraordinary people. Study timeless life principles. Listen to those who have walked through what you're struggling with, not because you want to mimic them, but because you want to extract their essence to forge your own unique version of greatness. Hill once affirmed, every successful person learns from those who came before. But they do not copy, they refine. And eventually you'll begin to notice something quiet but powerful. The language you use begins to shift. The way you think becomes clearer. The way you face challenges becomes more composed. The way you make decisions becomes less emotional and more rational. And all of that does not come from luck or temporary bursts of inspiration, but from one habit, 1 hour of learning a day. Remember, Hill never taught you to study for grades. He taught you to study to survive, to lead, to avoid being swept under in a fast-changing world. Because anyone who stops learning stops growing, and anyone who stops growing starts falling behind, whether they realize it or not. So starting tomorrow, or better yet, starting today, prepare your materials for tomorrow's study hour. Place 3 books on your desk. Open a video you've been wanting to explore. Ready your notebook to capture the moments that touch your awareness. And when that learning hour begins, enter it as if you were stepping into a boardroom with your future. Say to yourself, I don't learn just to know. I learn to live differently. This is the hour of learning, Napoleon Hill style. 1 hour powerful enough to change an entire life, but only if you use it with full awareness, clear purpose, and inner commitment. Napoleon Hill consistently emphasized one core truth: knowledge that is not applied becomes a burden. Everything you learn but never act on, never test, never transform into results, only makes your mind more cluttered. Full of theory, yet empty of outcomes. In Think and Grow Rich, he repeated many times, knowing is not enough. Belief is not enough. Action is the catalyst that turns dreams into reality. You can read 100 books, jot down thousands of ideas, and listen to hours of podcasts each week. But if you don't step outside and try something concrete, you're still standing still. Hill called this the danger of dead knowledge, where people drown in the illusion of progress, while in truth, they are just procrastinating behind the polished mask of being a student. Because learning without doing is the most respectable way to delay and still feel like you're trying. And that is why he believed every hour you devote to yourself must not end with absorption. It must lead to execution. A part of your daily golden hour must be reserved for practical action. If you're learning to write, then write a paragraph. If you're learning to communicate, then speak out loud. If you're learning about business, sketch an idea, send an email, post a thought, take one small step. You don't need to finish the skyscraper, but you must lay 1 brick every day. Hill never preached perfectionism. On the contrary, he encouraged action even when it's not perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You need to start, he once said, because he knew you will never feel fully ready. There will always be something more to prepare, always a reason to wait 1 more day. But change does not come from waiting. It comes from the moment you dare to act, even in uncertainty. You don't need to walk steadily, you just need to walk. And here's the magic Hill witnessed in those highly successful individuals he studied. They acted while others were still analyzing. They moved first, refined later. They understood no lesson is more real than the one born from your own experience, and no learning cuts deeper than what you learn from your first steps, even if those steps are clumsy. Each day, when your learning hour ends, don't close a notebook and return to the old routine. Ask yourself, what will I apply from today? Just one thing, write it down, and commit to doing it before the day ends. Even the smallest act will do, as long as it's done. Because Napoleon Hill believed one focused hour of action is more valuable than 10 hours of analysis that lead nowhere. Action doesn't just produce results, it rebuilds your trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you strengthen your internal self-respect. You send a clear message to your own being, I am someone I can trust. And those repeated actions gradually redefine your identity. You are no longer someone trying, you are someone doing. And you know what? That shift, how you perceive yourself, is the real breakthrough. Not a skill, not money, not credentials, but the quiet, powerful transformation within, from someone who dreams into someone who creates. Hill once warned many people spend their whole lives thinking, but can't give even a single day to doing. And at the end of the road, their deepest regret is not doing the wrong thing, but not doing anything at all. They knew too much, but they didn't walk. Don't let yourself become one of them. Don't let your daily study hour become just a session of temporary inspiration. Let it become a springboard for action, where every line of notes is a seed sown through real deeds. And Hill would remind you of this, gently but with weight. If you learned yesterday, then you must act today. Not for accolades, not because someone's watching, but for yourself. For the future you envisioned, for the person you want to become. Every small step today will open the way for bigger strides tomorrow. And one day, you will look back after a month, 3 months, a year, and realize you are no longer the same person. You are a version that has been forged through consistent action. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You only need to be consistent. You don't need to be excellent every day. You only need to be steady every hour. Because in a world where most people choose to watch one more video instead of acting, you, the one who chooses to step forward, are already a rare kind of human, and that alone will make all the difference. Napoleon Hill once said, life doesn't change simply because you keep moving forward. It changes when you stop to reflect. In today's world, where people are constantly pushed to do more, move faster, and achieve more, the act of pausing to reflect may sound out of place. But to Hill, it was an essential step for anyone who seeks to master their life. Because if you keep rushing forward without ever looking back, how can you know if you're even going in the right direction? Reflection is not about turning around, nor is it about doubt. It is the conscious act of a courageous person who dares to face the truth about themselves, about what they're doing, thinking, and pursuing. It's like a pilot checking the compass mid-flight, not out of uncertainty, but because even a small misalignment today can lead to major deviation tomorrow. Each day within the hour you dedicate to personal growth, Hill wanted you to reserve the final 5 minutes for silent review. No need for elaborate rituals, no need to write pages. You only need the courage to ask the right questions. Was I truly focused today? What did I learn? What did I do differently? What did I delay? And what can I do better tomorrow? Reflection does not demand spectacular success. It only demands honesty. Because in the moment you admit that you were distracted, that you lack discipline, that you let part of your potential slip, that is also the moment you begin to reclaim control over yourself. Hill believed that a life worth living is a life worth recording, not to boast, but to notice what keeps repeating without serving you and what inner power remains untapped. Now, you might think, I'm too busy to reflect, but be honest. Can you spend hours scrolling through social media, watching the news, answering unimportant emails, yet claim you don't have 5 minutes to look inward? Hill wouldn't judge you, but he would look at you and ask, if you don't have time to evaluate yourself, how do you expect to improve? Because progress doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing better. And doing better only arises through reflection. When you dare to say, I missed that opportunity today, when you dare to write, I said something I shouldn't have, when you recognize, I'm repeating an old mistake, from there you have the chance to shift your perspective, change your course, draw a lesson, not from theory, but from your real life. Reflection is also when you harvest invisible results, not loud victories, but the birth of a new line of thought, a deeper awareness of self, a fresh reaffirmation of your values, a moment when you realized you're no longer your former self. You are growing quietly, solidly, without the need for applause. Hill also understood, no one becomes great at reflection overnight. You'll feel awkward revisiting your failures. You'll want to avoid the things you haven't done right. But start anyway, with a question, with a short sentence, with one emotion acknowledged. Because each small piece of honesty today will become part of your inner strength tomorrow. He once emphasized, the wealthiest and happiest people are not those who never make mistakes. They are the ones who learn quickly from their own mistakes and from those of others. And that only happens when you build the habit of pausing, reflecting, adjusting, and then continuing forward. Like a sculptor, not always chiseling. Sometimes he steps back 3 paces, observes the whole statue, notices the small imbalance near the eye, and with just one precise tap of the chisel, transforms a lifeless block of stone into a masterpiece. You are no different. If each day, after learning, after doing, you spend a few minutes reviewing yourself as an artisan examines an unfinished work, you will soon know where to deepen, what to smooth out, what to enhance. And over time, you won't just live a busy life, but a life that is refined, clarified, and mastered. So starting tomorrow, when your golden hour ends, don't rush back to the world. Don't reach for your phone right away. Sit with yourself. Close your eyes, breathe. Write down one insight you gained, one thing you'll do differently, one message you want to remind yourself of. And if you repeat this often enough, Hill believed you will create what he called conscious growth, the deepest, strongest, and most sustainable form of personal evolution. Napoleon Hill once emphasized you cannot build a strong mind inside a weak body, because the mind and the body are not separate realms. They are tightly interlinked, like 2 heartbeats of the same life. You cannot sustain discipline, mental clarity, or creative energy if your body is silently crying out for help each day. And the irony is, while everyone talks about goals, mindset, and success, very few truly pay attention to the machine powering all of that, their own body. Hill never underestimated health. To him, a body full of vitality was the most sustainable fuel for success. You may have brilliant ideas, detailed plans, and great ambition, but if you no longer have the strength to execute them, all of it will forever remain dormant potential. That is why he placed 1 hour a day for the body as a non-negotiable part of personal development. 1 hour. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to become an athlete. You don't need to run marathons. But you do need to move, to breathe, to sweat, to awaken your muscles, to activate circulation, and to remind yourself that you are alive, you are in motion, you are in command of this body. This is not just exercise. This is a ritual of maintaining your life force. Hula wouldn't tell you, work out to look good. He would say, train to be strong enough to carry the mission of your life, because he understood that people with great goals need great health. Not just health to work, but health to endure pressure, to overcome setbacks, to stand tall when everything else collapses. And that no one gives you. You have to build it day by day. Start with the simplest thing. Walk under the early sun. Let the light awaken your pineal gland, reset your biological clock, and activate the natural rhythm of a conscious human being. Stretch, move your joints, twist your spine, so that every part of you knows today you choose to live actively. Then gradually increase intensity. Try some light weight training. Try yoga. Try a short HIIT session. It doesn't matter what activity you choose. What matters is that you don't choose stillness. And it's not just about movement. Hill also placed great emphasis on consumption behavior. Are you eating to sustain clarity or to satisfy fleeting emotions? Are you hydrating like someone who understands the body's needs, or downing coffee like someone running from fatigue? Hill would never force you to diet, but he would say you cannot expect your body to fully serve you if you keep abandoning it through unconscious choices. You want willpower? Get enough sleep. You want deep focus? Regulate your blood sugar. You want to reduce stress? Practice deep breathing every morning. You want the presence of a successful person? Step into the sunlight. Lift your head and let every cell absorb the air. These things don't cost money, but they require the mindset of someone who takes ownership. Hill pointed out that successful people don't wait until their bodies are depleted to take care of them. They invest in their health like the most valuable asset they own, because they know that every goal, every relationship, every dream rests on this foundation, the body, the only place you are permitted to live for the rest of your life. And when you honor it, you are honoring your own future. You might say, I'm too busy, I don't have time. But Hill would gently remind you, there's always time for something you believe is important enough. The issue is not time, it is awareness. Do you truly believe that if you don't care for this body, everything else will eventually begin to fall apart? So from today forward, do not neglect this part of your 1-hour journey. Treat physical care not merely as a survival task, but as an elevated act of self-love. Schedule your exercise the way you schedule an important meeting. Prepare a simple but mindful meal. Go to bed on time as if you're showing respect to your own future. And when you start doing that, you will witness something remarkable. Your body will respond. It will give you clarity. It will give you resilience. It will give you a sense of control, something no one outside of you can ever hand you. And you will begin to tap into a new level of energy, one you may never have known before, a level of vitality not driven by caffeine or adrenaline, but by the harmony of body and mind. And when you reach that state, Hill believed there is no obstacle that can break you, because you are not just strong in the mind, you are strong all the way through. Napoleon Hill once said, financial freedom is not a destination, it is a state of mind built from steady, quiet action every day. You don't need to be born into a wealthy family. You don't need luck from the market. What you need is 1 hour a day, used wisely, to build a financial foundation for the future you truly deserve. Most people work their entire lives without ever understanding the difference between earning money to survive and building a system that creates wealth. That they spend the majority of their time working for their paycheck, their bills, their debts, and then at the end of life they look back and ask, what was I living for? Hill refused to accept that fate. He declared, you deserve to live on income you control, not on the kindness of the market or the charity of fate. That's why he carved out a specific part of the golden hour each day to build personal finance, not to count money, but to learn how to make money work for you. 1 hour in silence. When there are no pressing deadlines, no distractions, when you can truly face your numbers and begin to redesign your relationship with money. So, what do you do with that hour? First, Hill advises you to audit yourself, not just your bank accounts, but your financial thinking. Are you spending to impress others or investing to strengthen your core? Are you working just to get by, or are you intentionally building a second and third stream of income? Do you clearly understand where your cash is flowing, where it's leaking, and which investments are truly generating returns? Next, use that hour to read, learn, write, and strategize. Read books on finance. Study the principles of cash flow, compound interest, the markets. Write down your concrete financial goals. I want X amount in passive income each month within the next 3 years. Then write, how will I achieve that? And finally, choose one small action to take today. Open an investment account. Start researching real estate. Build a digital product. Sell a skill you already have. Napoleon Hill didn't teach you to dream. He taught you to plan. A serious financial plan built from the quiet hours most people easily overlook. And he believed wealth begins not from outside opportunities, but from inner initiative. In those hours, when you sit down to study money, reflect on goals, practice resource allocation, you are building a small but powerful financial system. And once that system grows, it will work for you, even while you rest. Hill understood success doesn't come from randomness. It comes from strategic preparation. So 1 hour a day for finance isn't optional. It is essential if you are truly serious about your life. Imagine this. You spend 1 hour every evening learning how to invest, optimize spending, automate savings, and create new income streams. After a year, you won't just be financially smarter, you'll be a different person. Someone who understands the value of every dollar earned and knows how to make it multiply. And Hill emphasized, wealth is not about showing off. True wealth is the power to choose. It's not having anxiety at the end of each month. It's being able to take a day off to care for a loved one without worrying about lost income. It's being able to turn down work that doesn't align with your values because you are no longer bound by financial fear. Hill once wrote, "When you master money, you master time. And when you master time, you master freedom." And that freedom is what he truly wanted you to achieve, not a luxury car or a beach villa, but the deep inner peace of knowing you are on the right track, you are building real assets, and you are no longer living reactively. So from today, choose a quiet time slot for yourself. Sit down, open your financial journal, ask questions, read a chapter, write down a business idea, learn about an investment model, recalculate your budget, cut one unnecessary expense, one bit at a time, 1 hour, one brick. And soon you will have built a solid financial foundation, one that no one can take from you. And if someone ever asks, when did you start building wealth? You can smile and say, from those quiet hours that most people overlook. Napoleon Hill once said bluntly, no success is truly real if you are alone when you reach it. You may accumulate wealth, gain recognition, develop extraordinary abilities, but if you lose connection with your loved ones, with deep and meaningful relationships, then in the end, you will fall into a void that nothing else can fill. Hill never viewed success through the lens of a conqueror. He saw it as a journey of growing alongside others, and to do that, you must make intentional time for connection. Just 1 hour a day, not to work, not to achieve anything, but to be present, to listen, to sit in silence together, to truly be there with someone, no phone, no rush, no distraction. Because the deepest need of a human being is not advice, not praise, but the feeling. Someone truly hears me. 1 hour like that. When you sit down with your child, look into the eyes of your spouse, call your parents, or write a thank you letter to a former mentor, is a subtle yet powerful act that weaves an unbreakable thread between souls. And Hill wants you to understand this. Sustainable success is not measured in numbers, but in connection. The great individuals he once interviewed, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, none of them walked alone. They built teams, families, friendships, through intentional care, through meaningful conversations, through showing up when others needed them, not as bosses, but as humans. 1 hour each day, not to receive, but to give. A timely hug, a sincere question, a technology-free dinner, a moment where you choose to sit in silence beside someone in pain without needing to fix anything. That is how you nurture relationships, like a gardener tending to a cherished tree. And don't think you're too busy, because in the end, when the spotlight fades, when the numbers in your bank account no longer stir your soul, the only thing that will keep you warm are the hands still holding yours through the years. Napoleon Hill called this true wealth, having someone with whom to share the full range of life. And you don't have to wait until you're free. Just 1 hour each day. No need for many words, just show up with your heart. That is the foundation of every enduring relationship, from love and friendship to collaboration and great life partnerships. And now, after everything you've read, felt, and envisioned throughout this journey, there's only one thing I want to say to you, clear and without hesitation. It is time to act, not tomorrow, not when things are convenient, not when you feel ready. But right now, today, this very hour, take back control of your time. Devote 1 hour a day to yourself, to knowledge, to your body, to your finances, to connection, to building a life you're truly proud of. You don't have to change everything, just change 1 hour. Because if you can control 1 hour, you can control the whole day. If you can control a day, you can reshape your entire life. So rise, write it down, schedule it, commit, do the thing you've delayed too long, end the polite excuses, and choose to live like someone who knows. Every hour is a vote for your future. I don't know where you are on your journey. Maybe you're just starting. Maybe you've gone far, but haven't yet seen results. But I do know this. You have a power within you greater than anything you've imagined. And if you choose to use each hour of your day wisely, no one can stop you from reaching the most extraordinary version of yourself. So, I wish you the courage to begin, the grit to continue, and the clarity to never trade your future for the comfort of now. 1 hour, one decision. A new life is waiting to be written. Napoleon Hill wishes you strength for the road ahead. And never to look back.